Okay, well, we'll open the meeting and I welcome everybody to the October meeting. I had to think. A call for apologies.
We have apologies from councillors Matthews, Mulligan and Smith due to the flooding.
Two of them are due to flooding.
Oh yeah, Chris is just due to overwork.
Chris is working. Can I have somebody move that we accept those apologies? Thank you, Councillor Egan, Councillor Galvin. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Now I need somebody to move the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting that was held on the 29th of September and circulated, it's taken as read.
So I move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Galvin, seconder. Councillor Moore, I got more. Those in favour say aye. It's now carried. Call now, there's no presentation. That was been cancelled. Call for the declaration of interest, gifts received and conflicts of interest. I haven't got any, but we'll see how we go. There is additional late items. Hello, next.
It's the item 7.5 property sale 10 to 12 Olive Terrace Borealer in the confidential item. And there's also an additional one about the purchase of an item of plant for the confidential section as well.
Can I move that we accept those on the agenda? Councillor Egan and Councillor Moore, those in favour say aye. Carried. Okay.
Officers report.
Move on to the which is firstly is the VROC minutes. That was out at Targaminda that morning. Pretty straightforward. I think it was an interesting meeting though. We found out a bit more about how the Queensland system works. Targaminda is a town of about, I don't know, 250, 280 people, something like that, Alex?
Yes.
And it's sparkling, it's new. They don't get any fags grant. The state government deemed they weren't viable, so they stopped their fags grant. But they're getting grant money from somewhere because it was inspirational, actually, I thought.
Yes.
Anyway.
Those meetings better than the JO meetings.
Yeah, well, they're a lot more interesting, yeah.
There's a real sense of camaraderie in that meeting.
Yeah. There's some, the Brock meetings are, obviously there's some Queensland issues, some New South Wales issues, and then there's some that are in the middle. The one interesting thing with Targaminda in particular was that their population is falling because corporates are buying country for carbon offset and locking it up. And so that anybody that lived there or worked there is gone. It's sad, really. So that could somebody move that recommendation, please? Councillor Colton and second Councillor Gelman. Those in favour say aye. Yeah, go back to one. I think she's very close. Sure. 7.2 is September Organisation Community Services report.
Looks like they enjoyed their outing to Gravesend Shop.
Yes, it was all over Facebook. They were very excited. I'm happy to, this is just the standard report and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Oh, yeah.
It's lovely to see the bullets and the wombats sitting up beside each other having a little talk.
They did run the loss in the end. COVID.
That's what we're putting it down to, yes, yeah.
It was a lot better. It was fairly respectable, I might add.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think after the end of the financial year, they will receive some additional funding towards that COVID expensive thing.
We did get I can't remember how much it was, but not enough to cover.
No.
It's certainly a lot better than it has been in
Yeah.
the past, and with the new funding model kicking in this month, we're expecting it to be quite favourable this year.
And there's going to be did I read somewhere that there's a pay rise for the people that work?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that covers it, the funding one. Does it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it does.
Yeah.
Does it make you feel better to read that 80% of all aged care facilities run at a loss in Australia?
Doesn't make me feel any better. No. What was our loss? 170?
170 around it.
That includes depreciation too, though, so
Yeah, and I suppose if you took that off, it's probably breaking.
it's pretty impressive that a facility like that, like we don't include depreciation in any of the road stuff we do, because roads would look terrible if you included it.
That's true.
So for a facility of that size with the amount of depreciable items in it,
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
and I think on the other side of the coin, Helen, is that it is all still new. It's in very good condition. Yeah.
And I think the thing we have to look at too, we've got very good aged care facilities in both towns.
Yeah.
We've got ageing populations in both towns, and we can't go without them. And provide very good care, and it's a place where you'd rather your relative be there than in the city. So that's
Yeah, we've had some lovely comments about our facility up here.
yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It's somewhere where we'd all like to go rather than be stuck in.
Stop yourself. I'm not going there.
No, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
better than being stuck in a city where
Yes, for sure.
you don't get the care.
Yeah.
And I've been to visit people in ones in bigger places in city, and you don't get the care like you do up here.
Locally. And I think the extra grant funding we've received for all the capital works we've done up there will increase depreciation, but it's like every capital project we've got, the facilities we've got because of it that we haven't had to fork out ourselves is a huge benefit.
And just to give you a heads up, there's more funding on the horizon that could see us extending Nauru again, being funded by the federal government. So we haven't said anything yet because the funding hasn't been announced, but you know, that's the industry
Yeah.
gossip, I suppose. So,
Well, that's good. And I mean, I suppose the way, as Councillor Galvin just mentioned, with our aging population, we do have to keep extending it.
and
And
unfortunately, I've been here long enough to remember the core reason for Nauru being built the first place was so our ageing residents can age and live near their
Stay.
family
Family.
at home. So that's at the back of my mind all the time.
And from a nurse's point of view, like when I was community nursing, it's very sad when you have to tell a relative that there's no beds available, that they have to go out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I think that's probably where we've got our most favourable comments are from people that have been able to relocate
yeah.
to Nauru
Hmm.
and how much better that was than wherever they were, which
Yeah.
is often a city.
And in saying that, we've got our CHSP service, which is allowing people to stay in their home a lot
Yeah.
longer too. So councils all over it really.
Yeah.
When it comes to aged care, people can be cared for at home longer than what they used to be able to because of the CHSP service and the transport service. And then we've got the facility. I would say half of our residents are probably from other areas at Nauru.
And the other thing, going to the CHSP, like something which we do very well, something as simple as a luncheon every week, that is very high on clients' lists. Like I know when I used to go and visit patients, you could not go and see them on a Tuesday because they were having lunch or going to a day trip. So that's a service we provide very well and should be proud of.
Next, while we're on this subject, we had a meeting and it was recommended we go to the minister. Have you done anything about that or with the other group of councils?
Oh, it's the other, well, we haven't been told yet if anything's been, we weren't the organisers. There was, who was the main, the main council?
The
No, but-
mayor that we met.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But remember we met with, was it, whatever his name is, was replaced Chris Hanger? Was it he that said that we should go and see the minister, the federal minister? And I thought that you were going to put that to that group, that we do that, because that group only went to the state minister. Yeah.
It would have been put to the group, but we weren't the drivers
No,
of
I-
that group.
I
I didn't want to take over.
No, you can't. No, all right.
Supporting our conversation earlier though about the fags and all that sort of thing in the wealthier communities.
They don't even have to take part in providing aged care for
No,
them.
no.
We do all that over and above, and the government doesn't recognise how
Yeah.
much
Yeah,
we
there's
take on beyond our.
talk about a bit more of this in the,
Confidential.
well, no, I was going to say, it'll come up in the Dollary report with
Yeah,
rate capping. I think there's a lot of relevant points there.
I
I
did another-
read, and I think that was in the next report, I did read that the aged care workers are getting a pay rise, and I think that is really important, whether
Yeah.
it can be afforded or not. Like, it's like whether we can afford it or not, it is so important because it's pretty disgraceful.
I'll move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you,
There's
councillor.
another exciting point with Nauru that I thought I would mention. I've heard more than me say, a lot of times that the registered nurses are an issue at Nauru and generally with our hospital systems. Council's currently looking in a cadetship program based at Nauru for 2 registered nurses. So we will put them through their university training and they'll commit to Nauru for the period of training and hopefully ongoing. So that's something that we're doing in the community as well. Moving forward, it's just a bit tricky working with the unis at the moment, but we hope to have that happening very soon. So
That's very good.
Put that in, is it possible for something like that, that putting them through, they give us back 2 years when they complete, or you can't do that?
you can't dictate whether they stay or not, but you'd like to think that loyalty will kick in.
Yeah.
You'd like to think they love the place.
If you're training local people, it's a fair start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if they go across the road to the hospital, that's a great thing too.
Yeah.
Because the
Because it's
hospital's
You're
just,
not
a short-
moving them.
unfortunately, it sounds like the state government doesn't have as proactive thinking around training RNs in their community, like the university graduates. So we're looking at doing a cadetship.
Just wait.
Yeah,
There's 3,000 registered nurses waiting to get entry into Australia. Is there no way we can, look to have people brought in, offer them positions?
when sorry.
No, I was just going to say, we have registered our organisation to sponsor overseas people. We did that because we've got a couple on staff already whose visas are about to expire and we have to
Minis, like.
retain them. And we went for more spaces. I think we ended up going for 5 spaces. And that's been approved, but we haven't actually progressed that beyond getting the approval to be a sponsor.
We need to make health our
Number one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the accreditation for overseas trained nurses and doctors, the accreditation for them to
Yeah.
work in Australia is prohibitive.
Yeah.
So that's what needs to change.
One for 12 months.
Yeah, it's not much.
And there is,
Ridiculous.
That is.
it's, some of it's,
But we're all humans, we're all got the same,
Yeah.
ability to adapt and
Yeah.
learn.
Doctors would be very different to registered nurses, I would expect, but it's frustrating.
Anyway,
Can I just say too, the federal government, and I'm assuming that they honour all their promises, said that any increase in pays for aged care workers would be fully funded by the federal government.
I did say that.
I mean, we'd think if they didn't.
Backtracked on a few other things.
they
too.
backtrack, like I know just as a nurse, there's no pay rise. There's no pay rise and there's no,
That's state government.
yeah, I know, and there's no pay rise. And then they got, I know this is off the track, but they gave anyone employed with New South Wales Health, they got 3,000, but anyone that works in private practice, we got nothing.
Yeah.
Not even a pay rise.
All right, it's been, the recommendation's been moved by councillor Egan. I need a second, please. Councillor Colton, put the motion, those in favour. All right. It's now carried. Next item is the September Executive Services Report. Taking questions?
Yep.
Yeah, I got it.
The permanent caravan site that was sold, that's a private sale. It's nothing to do with council, is it?
Which one?
Permanent caravans.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Permanent caravan site that's sold, that's a private thing, isn't it?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you do.
A quick query, what is, I know, like, be interesting to know what the customer request for technical services is, from 21 to 51. Be all potholes, would it?
Oh, well, be right, yeah.
Potholes and roads, I think, wouldn't it?
Primarily, yes.
Councillor Regan, would you like to give a report on the rally that's underway?
No, because I have to say, I've been a very poor representative of council. I spent mine in bed. Tiffany would be the
Did you go? I didn't, yeah, as you know, I put an apology in, I hope you put my apologies in, Councillor Regan, for the rally, for the opening on Sunday.
I
I
went,
wasn't there.
I went and then got lumbered with Tiffany better make
Yeah,
a welcoming speech. But anyway, I can say it is so well organised. It just, isn't it, Mash? Like it's just,
It's very much the same as the first one that
Yeah.
I
yeah.
exactly the same.
just, the first one that was here, I wasn't a councillor, but I worked down there doing a men's health day. But I went down there. It's just amazing. Everything is run so well. They're very, very happy with the facilities. They cannot say enough about, and I heard it quite a number of times, about the new toilet block that's
Oh,
there.
yeah.
It's perfect. They're very thankful. It's well run. They're up the main street. Like on Monday, if they hadn't have been in the main street on or Tuesday, the street would have been dead. And they're visiting every business.
How are we getting on in the wet? Was it very wet at the showground?
They said it was very wet yesterday. Lenore was supposed to do a fashion parade yesterday and that got cancelled because of the close, of course. But there was no complaints. The only complaint I did hear from them was that it was very sad that the Roxy Cafe wasn't open. I heard that from numerous people because they wanted to spread their love around.
Not Monday and Tuesday.
They don't open Monday and Tuesday, so they left it at that.
The op shop took $1,100 on Monday.
Yeah,
Well,
It was not only the Roxy Cafe, the sportsman, the sporting club didn't open on the Monday. Yeah,
And the Imperial didn't open Sunday.
Oh, really?
No,
that's sad, isn't it?
it is sad.
stupid on their part.
It really is. They're all in a position where they're overworked and understaffed.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
exhausted, a lot of them.
But did you see where it was 110,000 up
Yeah.
until Tuesday night?
What they're,
With their dockets,
What they're doing.
110,000.
they're encouraging them all to keep the dockets, which, like, but the op shop don't give out dockets. So that
Yeah.
110 is just the
Yeah.
ones that they get.
And they said, the baker said a lot of them don't ask for him at the baker's either.
Yeah, the
The
baker
baker opened Sunday.
Sunday, the baker's open Sunday.
Yeah, that was excellent.
Yeah, and I know I spoke to Eleanor yesterday and she's had some really good days. So she's really happy that they're in the butchers. They're very, but as I said to someone, just talking from the butcher's point of view, if we sold four steaks to them, that's 4 more than we'd normally sell.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how much you sell, but it's, these people are going away and they're saying how good it is, so people come back.
Yeah, yeah.
We do have the whingers and the negative people that we always
We've
have.
got one that lives in the town that owns the Imperial.
The,
I wonder who that is.
we have the whingers that knock them and things like that, but
True.
you get there a minority and you get on with, but most people, and they're friendly, they just love a conversation up the street.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's been good. Max, did you want to comment on any comment at all on the living classroom?
Well, on the carbon farm
Yeah.
side of it, but we've now, Carmen and I have now had 2 meetings with Starfish Initiatives, who are the auspicing body for the carbon farm grant.
I thought Starfish had gone into receivership.
No, they're winding up, but they haven't been able to finish the winding up because of this grant. So what we're talking about, we've come up with 6 different scenarios of a way forward. And we're having another meeting with Adam on November the 9th.
There's Zoom meetings, are they, with Adam?
Team meetings, yeah.
Team
He's got other employment now, so we meet during his lunchtime. But they all we're a bit stymied on how we move forward because we're having some trouble getting information from, one of the people that does a lot of voluntary work for the carbon fund.
What is the grant for, Max?
Well, that's one of the issues that we're trying to establish, actually, how much has been done under the grant already and how much is to be done. The grant was for basically just trialling different ways of retaining carbon in the soil. And there seems to be a fairly large lack of information available about what has been done and what's yet to be done. So, but Adam is trying to follow that up and get that information. I don't think I should announce what these options are here in a public meeting, but I'm quite happy to share them with all the councillors. I'll send an email around with the options so you can read them.
Yeah, I'd like to hear the opinion of the council because I understand the situation that there's money there and it'll be lost, but it's not a function of council to do this.
No, there's only been $15,000 expended so far out of the $75,000 grant, but under the grant, there was other contributions to be made. Like, for example, the cooperative farmers were meant to put in $60,000.
No.
Now, I don't know of any money being put in to date, and I don't know how that's going to be recorded or whatever. These are the sorts of issues that we're trying to come to grips with.
Yeah.
One of the options that's been looked at is simply giving the money back and walking away. That's one of the options that Starfish are looking at because, they want to wind up their company.
Well, my opinion, as humble as it might be, that would be the best option because this will end up costing us if we go on with it. And I don't, and we said right from the onset we didn't want anything to do with this. We handed it over. Anyway, that's my opinion.
It's a forward initiative planning and thinking way, and it's something we probably should be embracing, but we don't have the manpower and we don't have if the farmers that have put their hand up haven't been forthcoming, then who's going to do it? Not the man that's got parsley plot in the backyard. It's got to be the people that have an interest that goes all the way.
No, I would suspect one of the farmers that was going to put money in has sold his place and moved to go to India.
He is one of the main drivers.
Yeah.
Can I suggest if we want to have a more detailed discussion, we go into the
Okay.
or, we talk about it.
Chair, we'll do that. So any other questions, Max? Report?
Frankie Rock, so the chap that was there before is going back out there?
There are 3 staff members that have indicated an interest to go back out there. I think that he certainly would be a good option because he was pretty good out there before.
Was that Todd?
Yes.
Talk about that later. Yes. Okay. Can I have a motion of the recommendation? Unless there's any other questions, of course. Yeah. Seconded, please.
Just to say congratulations to the Morialda Honey Festival people. They did a great job.
I was remiss of me not to mention that. It was 10 times better than we've ever seen.
It was great though.
Yeah, it was. It was
Great though.
You want that added to it?
Yes.
Oh, just
Just
congratulations.
congratulations.
to them, Yeah,
Those are, it was mostly.
that's a lot of work and people need congratulating for the hard work.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff.
And I'd also like to, as well as congratulating for the Honey Festival, I'd like to congratulate the Poop and his staff for the grounds down at the work that was put in prior to the CMCA rally.
Yeah, fair enough. That's been recorded then. You're happy to include that in your motion. A seconder, please. Councillor Moore, thank you. Right, Max, I'll put the motion those in favour say aye. Okay. The next item is you, Alex, technical services.
Okay, taking the questions, but I'd like to go over a couple of things that were mentioned in passing the report and a couple of developments since that report was written. First was the loss of the pontoon at Bingra. Combination of two things, unprecedented amounts of water coming out of Coton Dam and also a tree getting stuck in the pontoon. Parts of it have been recovered and we believe they are in a fit state to be reinstated, not 100% of them. There's also a grant out at present for fixing boating infrastructure as a result of recent flooding. So we intend to put in a submission under that program to seek funding to reinstate the pontoon.
Good on you.
It was essentially bad luck. The truck wash at Warrialda, we've recently.
Can I just go back to that pontoon? I don't agree with you about essentially bad luck. I forecast this when it was built,
I understand that.
and I think that it was going to be put back.
A
It
tether.
needs to be put back differently.
So one of the options we would look at would be a tether that comes back in basically a wire rope that pivots on the same point, but further up the bank.
It'll want to be fairly secure, and you're always going to have a log come down. I mean, that's not bad luck. That'll always happen. And there's always going to be floods. Now, I understand this was very fast flowing water, but that could happen again. And you have to build it accordingly.
It could. It's a question of how much money we would like to throw at something to make it 100%
Well, that's my other point is that we've got a grant to do that. And here we are now stuck with the repairs. Or maybe you'll get a grant. I hope.
Well,
we
hope.
I hope you can. But to me, it was always going to happen. And I expressed that I was told that it would be right, but it wasn't.
Okay, point taken.
Yeah.
I don't think that it was ever, well, I suppose we didn't ever think the flood was going to be that big.
No.
It was done, it wasn't just done by backyard men that didn't know what they were doing. It was done properly and it wasn't predicted. And I, as a person on tourism, I think that it is needed. I drive over that bridge every day and I see the amount of times it's used. I see the comments of how wonderful it is. And if we can get a grant to fix it, I think it needs to be fixed. And okay, everyone, things don't go as planned, roofs leak. So roads happen.
Potholes.
Roads get potholes. So
I
yes.
couldn't agree more, Councillor Dixon, with everything you said. And I think that it was the manufacturer that were the ones that said it would withstand the flood. That was them, not us. So I wasn't aiming that at anybody in particular, but you can't put it back the same. And the other thing I was going to say was I believe some of the concrete pylons were washed out. So it was, fairly major, the water. I understand all that. But
I'm sorry, I probably bit, but I get sick of negative people saying things about our pontoon.
the point I'm making is that, the old saying, if you do something the same every time.
Oh, no, I'm sure they're going to do it better next time.
It'll need to be.
We've also got a significant grant to stabilise the bank in that area, and we'll be looking at how we could use that as Gabion supports to actually protect the pontoon in the future.
And also in that same area where water's pooling, we're looking at putting in a boat ramp underneath the bridge that would sort of act as a drainage area for that once it goes down. So once it's full of water, it's not going to take a month to dry out.
Impressed to see the sandstone blocks
It
removed.
moved.
Yeah, just amazing, isn't it?
Solid.
Yeah,
They're heavy.
yeah.
And that's what we need to build the pontoon out of, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, maybe.
Perhaps.
I don't know how they float, but
Any more on the pontoon, or can I move on?
Yes, please.
Okay. We commissioned a consultant to look into recycling of water at the truck wash. The total estimated figure is between $250,000 and $360,000, which is a sizable sum. However, under the recent state government program fixing country truck washers, we were able to sneak in an application for water recycling and improvement for that facility. That would not require a council contribution if it were successful. Part of the work that the consultants did for us were addressed odour issues, and they've recommended a product called Diatomics, which we can dose the pond with, which essentially, as I understand, promotes the growth of healthy algae. And it's a very low cost option to ensure that the couple of instances of odour that we've had in the past won't happen again in the future.
Alex, now that it's been running for a while, do you think that it's logical that we'll be able to take water off the top of the ponds and recycle it? It'll be settled enough. Is that working or?
The usage has probably been a little bit too high to
Yeah.
decant without further treatment.
Right.
We're looking at adding a flocculant at the truck wash itself. So basically the water that was coming out would have something that would, a polymer that would bind
I could
the
see.
solids, and before it gets to the ponds, it doesn't have the solids in it. I don't think there's anything especially wrong with the design of the ponds as they sit. The intent with their current design was not to decant water to send it back to the facility, but to decant water at a suitable standard to send it to the sewer treatment plant.
Yeah.
However, they seem to be functioning in a suitable state at the moment. We think with the addition of these diatomics, there'll be no ongoing issues.
There's only a couple of times that it was smelling, isn't there?
Twice.
Yeah.
And it'll be a question for the council if we're unsuccessful with the water recycling grant, whether $250,000 is a suitable investment to recycle that water. It could come from the sewer fund, which will have some pressure on it due to the Bingra sewer extension, which segues me into the next one.
Well, I was going to ask, how long will it take for the truck wash to return to 50,000? What's it doing a month?
Minus operating costs.
Yeah,
It's in the report.
That's $9,497 for September minus.
That's net.
That's net.
Operating costs are minimal.
Yeah.
I don't have the figures at the figures.
No, all right. So if you just round up to 10 grand, 120 a year.
Yeah, so upwards of 2 years.
So we're a victim of success.
We absolutely are.
Good on you,
It's
Alex.
terrible, isn't it?
Good on you, Alex.
Petrol,
Yeah.
the diesel.
Yeah.
Should be celebrated.
It should be.
My controversial view, if we wanted to limit the usage, we'd increase the price and let the market regulate it. If excess usage became a problem, but it's at the moment not an issue.
Alex, there's no indication there that we might have to build another pond.
No, not at this stage. The ponds that we sized, the consultant that originally sized those lagoons sized them at 1.25 megalitres each. We constructed at 2.5 megalitres each. So they are well beyond the capacity of the original design. It's a bit of suck it and see. It's very difficult. Part of the process in the operation of those ponds is evapotranspiration, and in a wet winter where you don't have sunlight and you have high humidity, that's very difficult to happen. And that's where we saw the odour issues occurring the most.
Yeah, no.
This weather at the moment wouldn't be helping either.
Not one bit.
Is it, I've been asked a lot from different people what it costs. Is it $1.90 a minute?
$1.20 is the
$1.20 a minute.
Right, yes.
Will they be pleased if I'm going to be on that?
A couple of things if we
Yes,
get.
well,
The the documents for the tender for the Bingra sewer extension are with us at the moment. We're currently reviewing those, expecting to go to market in about 3 weeks. That tender would most likely be live for at least an 8-week period because it's a reasonable size package before the pricing comes up. Onto roads, we have lost 3 grader operators, which is a very big concern.
Not in a pot, we didn't lose.
No, we've lost them, retirement, moving town. Nothing, council's not a contributing factor to any of the movements. It's just, it happens. Unfortunately, it's been grader operators, which are our most critical asset at present. We are currently recruiting for those positions and casting a very wide net and offering an attractive remuneration package. I'd encourage anybody who knows anybody that operates a grader to tell them how great working at Water is and see if we can't snag them. We had our third natural disaster claim for sealed roads has been approved, which is very good news. There's $4.8 million of sealed road money that we'll have. As part of that package, there's a $380,000, I think, allocation to replace the Slave and Hope Street, which will still be underwater if we have daylight today, but we'll have some increased flood immunity. Part of that package has some very high allocations to roads in the Cropper Creek area, which we're getting a bit of the flack about at present. So, which moves on to the Cropper Creek Road. We submitted an application under Fixing Country Roads for $7.05 million to upgrade the whole Cropper Creek Road from Cropper Creek up to North Star. The council allocation for that is only $200,000 if we're successful, and we hope to use some of the natural disaster money that has been approved for that road as an additional contribution to make it more effective.
Like that's the final round, isn't it?
It is the final round, yes.
How much in total did you say we get for the disaster funding for all the roads?
4.6 million out of that third declaration. We're going to be in excess of $20 million by the time that's approved, but there's been a fourth natural disaster declaration, 1034, from about a fortnight ago, which could be another couple of $1 million again. We'll probably get a fifth out of what's happening now, realistically. It doesn't seem to stop. The good news of it all is that money's not a problem.
It's working.
The disaster recovery funding arrangement's great. The state government has been, after we ironed out a few kinks, very forthcoming in helping us claim everything that is claimable. Every shire's in the same boat.
Yeah.
Contractors do not exist. Our staff, and this is a statistic that I put on the record, 14,900 hours of overtime they've worked since our first natural disaster declaration.
And you're not getting any drying time to be able to fix things.
No.
That's the stat you want to use. When you get a complaint about the roads, how can we do any more? Nearly 15,000. What was it? 14,900?
Yeah.
Nearly 15,000 overtime hours.
Well, it's a right to every person telling them that.
Right, because but they don't have to do any of that. They're doing it for the betterment of the community.
Yeah. And it's the drying time. There's no drying time. And I can tell you, I mean, I haven't driven on the roads in the north, but I've backwards and forwards to Armidale out of our shire, and those shire roads are awful, very, very dangerous because you don't see the potholes until you're on top of them, especially coming back between Armidale and Bundarra.
One thing we've been reasonably serious about, and unfortunately we keep buying more signs and running out of them, is erecting traffic hazard and rough surface and reduced speed signs, so at least there is some warning.
And the caravanners have said, I've heard it numerous times, that our shire roads are a lot better than other shire roads. So I know
Tell everyone.
I know that doesn't help, but if people are saying that,
Yeah.
you know, there are people that travel everywhere, and they've said it.
That's good.
Northern roads that are breaking down so badly, and
Yes.
you've got a big picture of a big truck there. It's probably like the house, but
It is, yes.
so would it not be prudent in this sort of weather, the weather we're experiencing right at the moment, road closure for that sort of truck on it?
Other councils do that, and I noticed that Forbes Council, which is where one of our previous directors is currently a director, closes roads on a regular basis to all traffic. What you've got to consider in doing that is what the flow-on effect is to industry. And I think that for the most part, landholders in those areas, because they have a bit of ownership of their roads in poor condition,
Are responsible.
won't go and take a loaded truck up a black soil road. Contractors for inland rail are a different story, and we have worked through some systems to close roads just to transform rail. I think that if we were to make the decision to close local roads, we'd have to do it with some community consultation and expect a fair bit of kickback from the community.
I don't mean long term, I just meant right now.
Yeah.
When everything's so wet and they hit the edge of the road and drop another chunk of the road down the gully.
Certainly a consideration, and there's provision that if you do have that in place, if somebody does damage a road, the council can recoup the costs from the damage. Certainly something I can get some advice on and put a report back to a meeting.
Yeah, I don't think the locals don't do it. It's occasionally, I know.
It could be the big, that's what I'm saying, big fellas that come in.
Yeah.
Are they responsible like our locals, or are we allowing them in at the detriment of our locals?
There's possibly an element of that. Yeah.
It's also, well, nothing to do with wet, but it's a real problem when, you know, Alex is building roads and they, especially in rail, the traffic's so heavy. Not only is it heavy, it's heavy. It's carrying heavy weight. And it's a bit of a dilemma as to what to do there.
When you're sort of saying that springs are coming up through our surface, you sort of wonder whether keeping those heavy vehicles on it are helping us at all. Anyway, I don't understand engineering, so I'll defer to you, Alex.
Probably heavy or light, it's not going to make a lot of difference. It's constant. If it's constant traffic, they're going to break.
Okay.
It's just the water gets in underneath there, and I know what you're talking about. Regional Road 77 at Gardeners.
Yep.
Well, that's been a problem forever.
Yeah.
Alex, what percentage of money did we spend earlier, like from that flood relief, first lot of flood relief money we got? We would have spent a fair bit of that money already.
We're in,
all I want.
I don't have the exact figure, but I think it's around the $6 million mark.
Right. So how much does that work now after what we're experiencing now with wet weather?
Well, we'll
have to go back and revisit it
again.
Grove's a good example of that.
I don't know. I'm happy to get the answer to that question and report back. I expect it could be in the region of $1 million. Now, that's not council's money. That's the important thing we need to understand. It's disaster recovery funding arrangement money. It's where the whole argument for betterment has been about, where we until recently have been flogging a dead horse saying, instead of reinstating it to this standard and doing the work again, and in some cases 4 times, we should be upgrading roads. There was an announcement last week of, I think, a $515 million betterment fund that we'll have access to. So at these locations where we do find ourselves repairing repairs, which are repairing repairs, we might have an avenue to be doing upgrades instead.
Yeah, good to see that happening, because that's been an ongoing problem for a lot of years. 30 years of my time in local government, as working on roads, I know it was always a problem there.
I don't know how easy it's going to be to tap into, but the announcement that the funding is there is a pretty good start.
State government?
Yes.
State. Yeah,
Resilience.
Yeah.
New South Wales.
Yeah, betterment's been a dirty word, hasn't it?
It has.
Okay, is there any other questions? You got any more, Alex?
No, that's all.
That must be though some federal commitment to that betterment as well.
I'll confirm that.
Just in your, I know I said it in the last report, but it's actually in your report, Alex, can you just, because I've written it on my notes, can you just commend those involved about the showground, because there has been lots of positive feedback from
Most certainly
the caravanners down there. So, and especially about the new toilet block, they said they're really good.
great.
There is just one little point. There was a whole lot of camper van people here on, what was it? Just before they went to England anyway. They stayed here for a while before it opened.
Yeah.
And that pre-camp down there, the grass is that high, it's a shame that couldn't be slashed.
Did they stay at the old sale yards too?
Yeah, they were there, they were everywhere they could.
Chock-a-block.
Everywhere.
Everything was chock-a-block.
The toilet was big.
Spreading the love.
Yeah, I just was sorry to see the condition they had there.
But just a clarification on that betterment fund, the general manager is correct. It is under the combined disaster recovery funding arrangement, so it's federal and state money administered through Resilience New South Wales.
What did you say that was worth? How much have they got available?
500 million.
500 million, yeah.
512.5.
It's across New South
I
Wales.
know, it's not going to go much. Well, I came back from Brisbane the other day and I got onto Warwick Radio. They've spent 100 million on flood damage. So,
Wow.
yeah. So you talk about our 20, it's nothing.
No.
Well, we're nothing compared to Moree, for example.
The new highway from Moree to Gundawindi is a death trap. And that's a state road.
Kyogle Council, I heard on a teleconference that had all New South Wales councils on recently, are estimating nearly $1 billion.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming most of that's going to be bridges
Oh, yeah.
that have been washed away. But, crazy.
Yes. Right, I've got a mover. Councillor Carlton moved the adoption of the recommendation.
Just a second.
I haven't got one yet. Councillor Dixon. Sorry. Galvin, I meant to say. All wrong. Councillor Galvin, I'm calling you Councillor Dixon. I just thought you,
It's okay.
I thought you'd aged a bit there.
Thank you.
Nice to see you looking so young, mate.
Sorry, Tim.
I'm not offended by that at all.
I'll put the motion in. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
That's okay.
I'll move the next recommendation.
Okay, the local government elections that we use the government to do the election. Anyway, second. Councillor Dixon this time. Is there any comment? Anybody got any questions on that? I'll put the motion. Those in favour say aye. Okay. The electoral commissions, New England JO, same sort of thing. I sort of apologise for having my name on those motions, but it's because it was,
You must have been very busy.
well, there was only a couple of us there and the others that were on Zoom didn't contribute to the meeting.
I thought that was good. You were right in the
Well,
minute.
I didn't get to move that we wind it up, but I was there right there voting.
I was reading, I thought, oh my goodness, John's been busy.
Yeah,
What's really for having the big bucks for?
yeah, that is big money. Is there any questions on that? No, can I have a move? Thank you. Councillor Egan, seconded Councillor Colton, those in favour say aye. Okay. RFS Red Fleet update.
It's amazing. I was reading how many actual Red Fleet vehicles there is.
There's a few,
Mm,
A lot of money.
a lot of money.
I couldn't believe it.
I think actually,
It's a pivot table that they sent us with all the vehicles and it's pages and pages and pages long. I hate to think how much money's tied up in these things across the New South Wales.
And
couldn't
they're,
believe it.
they'll increase in value because like they're updating them all the time from like Cat 9s, which are four-wheel drive up to, trucks and Cat 1 trucks, and they just keep increasing the size of them. So it's only going to get bigger and
and new sheds, they're new sheds, I've got to appreciate them.
While we're talking about Red Fleets, I know it's different, but I was told that there's a great chance we are losing our fire station in Bingara. I did run that past Adam at the meeting the other night, at the opening the other night, and he assured me it won't happen.
Well, that's the biggest one.
The New South Wales fire.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I think they're about to announce it.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. And I heard from from the deputy mayor in Narrabri, and he assured me it was happening and what a big worry it will be. But I did put it to Adam and he said, no, it won't happen. So.
We've had word that it's happening and what they're putting in place.
Yeah.
We know what they're doing.
It's pretty bad.
Well, it's a terrible backward step. Yeah.
Well, if we lose that and there's
A local fire.
a local, but they go to accidents and everything. I mean.
But it's from lack of, people wanting to be part of it. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
I wonder if we put a big spiel out there saying they are about to close us down. This is the risks. Will that make people come forward?
Is it too late?
I don't think it will.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is, I don't think people realise how serious it is. I mean, if we had a house fire, by the time someone came from Warialda,
No, well, that won't, no,
No.
we've got a thing in place. that-
oh, I know that,
Yeah.
but still.
I don't think it will.
I don't think the government's ever realised what volunteers added to their wealth.
No, probably
I
not.
mean, they never recognised, well, they did recognise, but they didn't realise
I
that
mean, they're still paid. They're paid a
a retainer.
retain, but which isn't very much.
You think you're well paid?
No, but what I'm saying is there is that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the reason is that lack of staff and the Warialda boys were going over there sleeping the night and I get paid some enormous.
I know, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And that's why it's closing.
Yeah, I know. They said it's the most expensive run
Yeah,
place. Yeah,
just a point in time, isn't it, when there's
Yeah.
nobody there willing to do it. I don't know, did you want to take action? I don't know what we can do now.
I just
I
think.
think the horse was bolted.
I mean, yeah, but we can't just give up on it. I think if we can put something out there like a big alert.
I think we could congratulate Alan that he's willing to take the fight on the behalf of the
Yeah,
community.
that's right.
Yeah.
We could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we could put one big red alert out there on wider page or something like that, this is what's going to happen. We won't have it. Is there anybody that's willing to?
The similar thing with the SES in Morialda.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Same with me.
And, I was speaking to what is his deputy, whoever he is, what's his position? Deputy.
He was the deputy zone commander.
Deputy Zone Commander the other day, and we're going to have a bit of a push probably in January to try and reinstate that, because he said that the organisation now is trying to take things away from the Warrior station. Well, it'd be better if we could get it going, but we've got to get volunteers.
And the trouble with a lot of those organisations, the requirement for training for local volunteers, used to be able to volunteer and have an induction and annual training, but now it's a commitment that's almost monthly and you have to try. That's what's happening. Because I know people that have looked into it, and yes, they obviously recognise they need training, but that ongoing training regime that backs up these services now is prohibitive.
And
So
it's
not just the
One of us to do
volunteer.
with the leadership too, because when Charlie Watt was the controller, or whatever the correct term is here, people couldn't wait for the training nights because he made them interesting and they went and did real stuff, And I think Graham Moxley was quite good, but now there's nobody there, so it's just falling apart.
And I think now they've taken away the local and you have to go to training, but it's in Tamworth. It's not provided in, which makes it very prohibitive for people with businesses and interests.
Yeah, and it's
And
also,
that's also a problem with the RFS.
Yeah, I know.
The Rural Fire Service. I mean, you can't go to a fire if you're stubbed a big toe or something like that. I mean, it's the cockies are just there. They've got enough work to do without turning up to a training break.
Yeah, and I've never done a day's training with the RFS and I never intend to. I think I have enough common sense to know how to do it.
Exactly.
But it's just this mentality now that
That's what it
put
is.
your uniform on, away you go.
I think the RFS stuff, I think it adds up to about 6 weeks a year for training.
Yeah.
If you-
It's quite a lot, isn't it?
And people won't, and I've been around our brigade, you get a few that haven't signed up, but it's 14 pages. Just to sign up is 14 pages to fill out.
and if,
They won't do it. They won't do it.
and with the New South Wales Fire Brigade, like if you've got, say there's people that are on it that are on the, also employed by the council, well, if they're out of town, if all of them are out of town, or if there is a fire and they've got to go in the middle of the job too, that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very difficult, but it's also pretty scary.
It's very scary, but I think there is volunteers there, but they just can't commit to the training regime that backs up those volunteer positions now.
Yeah, and getting back to the Red Fleet, there's some very strong motion on that for the conference.
Yep.
It's coming from everywhere. All the councils are up in arms about it.
That's why I prepared the report. I mean, it's obviously an issue of concern.
Yeah.
And we should really address it.
The other thing, Maxwell, was that there was a leaked document that to do with the auditor and the Red Fleet just recently. Well, not so much a leaked document, but the government had done a study and didn't release it. Nobody knew about it.
Yeah, they got it. Well, it's attached to the report. It's on
Oh,
the
is it?
file, yeah.
Yeah.
They got it on the record.
If we're on record as going down, if you think that the horse has bolted, we need to be able to at least apply to the government that when they close the door, they leave the keys and a very well maintained vehicle in the.
Take it all.
We have council employees that are well and truly able to drive vehicles, or any man around the town that's driven big vehicles could drive a vehicle to a fire
It won't
and
happen.
put a hose on it, for God's sake.
Yeah.
We've done it all our lives.
That's
Why now screw us down to the point that we've got nothing rather than have that sort of.
It will go. That'll be part of it. They'll take
I
that
know,
vehicle
but
somewhere
we
else.
need to fight for the fact
That's
that
Regan. Last time I said the horse had bolted at a meeting was at Country Mares, and I was told, yeah, but you're a very good rider. And I think we should take that on note, that the horse might have bolted, but we can still stop it.
Yeah, I think
If
so.
you want
I
to.
think we've got to give it all, even though they're saying they're going to close it. We can't give up without a fight.
no, we've got to have something that we
Good to
fight
know.
for.
From Carl to
Carl, yeah.
We've got to fight for something. We can't just.
And we've been recorded.
I think that they can't close it without having a legitimate alternative.
And when we
So-
have consultation with the
Yeah,
community, I mean,
It's under New South Wales Fire Brigade, so it doesn't come under Carl.
No, Carl
No.
heard about it from, you know, the discussions that they were having with the RFS.
it's almost wrong that they think that we're all absolutely morons.
I'll probably
that
tell you
can't
the
think for
RFS town
ourselves.
brigade will look after
Can't read it too far away.
it. Yeah, right. Well, I just said that.
I'll have to look at it, Smogo, I can't see it for me.
Now,
The town brigade, that was the town brigade of the RFS.
we should be able to fight for something that leaves us with some sort of security, not empty the shed and say, oh, it's all over it to have, if it burns, it burns.
Well, the way I said, Councillor Regan, is you can write to the fire brigade or whatever they're called, headquarters, but you would need to come up with a solution as well.
A man in our community has just received an award for how many years of service? 40 or something.
Oh, yeah.
Years
Johnny
of
Gill.
service.
Oh, Johnny Gill, yeah.
50, was it?
50 years.
With nothing wrong with his mental capacity. So he had a heart problem at one stage. He's had surgery. But if there was a fire, there's nothing wrong with him saying to the men, well, okay, get the thing out. We'll go to it. And
See, that's
we'll
The problem with this, mate,
see that thought.
is there's no men. Is there? I don't know how many's there, but they must be really short.
But that's what I'm saying. If the farmers, you and I saw for a fact the way the RFS worked, came over the hill like the cavalry, the RFS, and sat on the air. In the meantime, the farmers had gone and done the job that night.
Yeah.
I mean, where's common
I-
sense in the argument?
Share your frustration.
We need to fight it.
It's infuriating.
And we need to put something out there and say on Guida Shire, this is what we're going to lose. We're in risk of losing the fire station. And it will go, we haven't got long. Please come forward and maybe if they realise their house might burn down, they might apply.
But it's not only that, it's getting, when you're in fire, getting decisions on things like this fire out here near the bypass. Like we waited 3 hours to get permission to do a backburn. We could have lit it up past 10 and be home by 11. But we got home at past 4 in the morning.
The other thing is that the emergency services levy that we all pay on our insurance should ensure that that stays open. I'm not sure if they're a recipient of that money or it's only SES and RFS, I'm not sure. But I don't know, you want to take some sort of action? This it's sort of nothing to do with this motion, I don't suppose, but
Yeah, can we leave it to the,
leave it till later.
because
So this motion is just thanking company mayors, building this for us for their fight. And the fight will continue when you look at the conference agenda or motions. So can I have a member of the
I'll move that.
Councillor Egan? Councillor Galvin seconded it. Those in favour say aye. It's no carried. The next one is investments, September investments and rates collection. Helen.
So the only thing I want to really bring your attention to is we've now got within the managed funds, the $50,000 deposit that we've put in for the overdraft for the Finger Medical Centre. So it's all been set up, and once again, we busted our tail, got that all set up, and then they needed another month.
That is disappointing, yeah, for you anyway, really. So,
Well, that's the medical centre, the audit, that was the other thing,
The audit.
meeting I wanted to be able to tell you all that we submitted our statements.
I was talking about the audit when I said that, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that $50,000 is set up for the medical centre, and the Regional Australia Bank are going to pay us interest on that, which is good.
That's only next week, another week, isn't it, from there?
Yeah. So, but it's all set up, ready to go, so there shouldn't be any dramas there. And, yeah, rates collection reports there. And hopefully at the next meeting, I'll be able to tell you the statements have been submitted.
I've had a lot of media inquiry about the Bingham Medical Centre, which I've sent off to Chris. They go and talk to him, but Yeah, it's a pretty good result, isn't it? Being the Medical Centre, and I think we're a fair way in front of some other councils or other centres anyway. Thanks to Chris and
Yeah,
his
he's done
team and the rest of you.
Right place, right bloke in the right place at the right time.
I'm still very worried about getting doctors.
Well, I think if
I
you,
think it's everywhere though. It's not
Oh,
just
yeah.
there.
I think you'll get locums though, and you know, I really think they're on the right track.
I do too.
The board by making people pay because you
Oh, I
can't
think that's,
afford a locum on Doc Willie.
No.
And it also demonstrates to me is that you don't have to be a doctor to run medical practice. Anybody could have taken it on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in the future, the board can run it and the
We're-
board will be revolving.
we're very, very lucky to have Chris.
Oh,
and
yes, yes.
Especially when he came here to retire and
I feel sorry for him.
Thrown in the deep end.
I know he loves it,
He
but
loves it.
he loves it, but we're very, very lucky to have him.
Anyway, is there any questions on Helen after all that? Helen, what's happening with TCOP and,
So at the end of this month, we've got to pull our money out of TCOP. And then, having spoke to Regional Australia Bank with the medical centre stuff, we're hoping to be able to put some of our term deposits with Regional Australia Bank as well as NAB, so we can
that'd be good.
have support both. It'll just be a matter of having to split those deposits. The list will get much longer because given that there'll be monthly term deposits and we can't just pull them out at the drop of a hat like TCOP we could,
Yeah,
we'll have a lot of smaller investments so that we can keep the cash flow.
Yeah.
And you would have noticed that there's over $500,000 of unrestricted cash. I knew you'd know.
that's from house sales and blocks. And
We've been very good since the end of the financial year that we're spending a lot of the grant funded money that we've had to restrict at the 30th of June. We've been spending. There are a few projects, unfortunately, that are still, we have to do all the work before we get paid any money, which the Bingra preschool extension is one of those. Which
Isn't it looking good?
yeah, they've matched it perfectly. You wouldn't even know.
I wouldn't know. It's unreal.
is it completed now?
They were painting yesterday, or the day before, so I assume that's the end. That was the outside.
Yeah.
And the only other thing, we did pay the loan back for the bypass in early October. Unfortunately, the funding body for that money have been absolutely frustrating. We put an invoice in on the 30th of June to get paid the 1.5 million. It was 1.5, wasn't it?
Yep.
And we have missed the run, the Treasury run, for 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'll just make a comment on that. I don't think that's the department. It's an individual bureaucrat who will remain anonymous, but the same person that wasted 6 months of our time getting that variation for the additional 500,000 over the line.
Really?
The same person.
Is he retiring?
No, not that
It's not
same
him.
person.
It's pretty disgraceful because we let them know in June that we had to extend the loan, and RAB were really good and extended it for the 3 months. And we were advised twice that the money would be coming in, so we paid out the loan. And then when the money didn't come in and we chased it, said, "Oh no, we've missed it again. You'll have to wait till November." We've since kicked up a really big stink, and they are working on it and are getting it done as soon as possible. But given it's now the 20th of October, it will almost be November before that money comes in. Like, it's just disgraceful. Like,
How hard can it be
well,
working on it? Like,
I think that person's moved.
I don't know. We've just got another email from him to say that they've got it through and will get paid in the near future. I haven't got a date or anything.
The near future could be 6 months.
It'll be November because I think the Treasury only do one big run every month.
Good on them.
It's just other government departments that set all the rules for what we've got to comply with, the same as the audit office, and then when it comes back on them, they don't have to comply themselves.
Can I just ask, do we investigate interest rates at other banks?
Yes,
Facilities?
yes, I get them every day.
How's Rabo been compared?
I don't think Rabo's on one of our listing, but we've got all the major banks, but I can add Rabo and get them to send me.
Rates?
Yep.
Yeah, I certainly hope that you do use the local one as much as you can.
Oh,
because-
the regional.
Yeah, because, you know, in Moree, Rabobank's used widely by the rural sector.
Community, yeah.
And Westpac have pulled out of Moree now.
Yeah.
So you've got to think of that.
Yeah.
Mm.
RAB weren't that forthcoming when we first initially spoke to them about doing term deposits and stuff, but since the
That's
guy was
regional
supposed
Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, regional Australia, but since the guy we were dealing with for the medical centre, he's been really great.
Right.
So I'll keep him as our point of contact and hopefully we'll be able to support.
Obviously, it's got to be commercially sound, but
Yes.
you lean that way if you can. I
Yeah.
think.
Regional Australia. They not even finger anymore. They pulled pins. So
National, yeah.
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 I mean, we don't have.
No, but that's where our operating account is.
I know, it makes, yeah, and I wouldn't change
Yeah,
it.
and the majority of loans are through them, so.
Regional Australia Bank gives back to the community, the local
It does.
community as well.
Yeah, it does.
Which is lovely.
Okay, there's no more questions. I asked somebody to move the adoption of that report, the investment collection report.
Who are you going for? It was a
I didn't know, I wasn't even looking. How am I?
Well, it was to Councillor Galvin and Egan, both put up their hand at exactly the same time.
Well, I'll call Councillor Galvin because I've got a name right now. Put the vaccination plan, say aye. It's carried, and that's it for morning two, I think.
Mr Mayor, from the confidential part of the meeting, we have on the September Organisation and Community Services report, we have a recommendation that the report be received and noted. For the report regarding the County Boundary Road tender, the recommendation from the committee is that council accept tender GWY_2023_T2 from Finn Valley Plant and Civil Proprietary Limited for option 2A drainage works, County Boundary Road, lump sum contract of $4,627,859, including GST. Further, that the council provide delegated authority to the general manager to conduct all relevant functions under the contracts. Further, that the council seeks further project funding should current submissions to the Fixing Country Roads program and Department of Infrastructure be unsuccessful. Further, that the council commits to increasing its co-contribution to 4.05 million if required for potential budget overruns. Regarding the report concerning the construction tenders for Black Summer bushfire recovery and local roads and community infrastructure grant programs, the recommendation from the council is that the tender submitted by Uniplan for the production and delivery of 8 prefabricated building units for a total price of $1,953,120 is accepted. On the succession planning, there is no recommendation to the council. On the item property sales 10 to 12 Olive, how do you say? Perk Terrace, I always have trouble with that. Morialda, the recommendation is that the sale of lots 11 and 13 DP 843033 and lot 2 DP 111946 known as 12 Olive Perk Terrace for $600,000 is confirmed. On the Bruins e-combi roller purchase, the recommendation to the council is the council purchases a Bruins e-combi roller with grid drum and hydraulic offset drawbar for $228,695, excluding GST. We also have some additional recommendations to the council regarding the carbon farm. The recommendation to the council is that the carbon farm lease does not have the continuing support of the council. In regards to the Bingara Council Chambers, the recommendation to the council is that the council move forward on building a completely new replacement office building in Bingara that retains the existing RSL facade. In regards to the United Services Union correspondence, the recommendation to the council is that the council supports the USU's option 1 of eliminating the existing rate-peaking regime.
Thank you. Would somebody like to move that we adopt those resolutions from the confidential session? Councillor Egan, Councillor McGowan, seconded that. I'll put that to the meeting. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against no, so that carried. And we'll close the meeting. Thank